let's go ahead and dive into our core topic. Chat, feel free to weigh in with any points. Like I said, we can actually highlight both the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, share, and all that great stuff, because that's how this channel continues to ideally bring you guys some fun and awesome content going forward. So yeah, we appreciate you guys, and but on both sides. And be sure to like it over on the YouTube for the live stream. On Twitch, be sure to just be here. I think that's all they really require. First, let's kick off with the beta dates and more. This is going through the latest post from the devs. This is the guide to Diablo 4's open beta, what they're looking for, what's happening, what is their focus. This kicks off for the closed beta this coming weekend. If you're watching this on Wednesday, March the 15th, you should be able to actually go and download the client. So go do that. I'll be playing it. I'll be giving you guys my hands-on controller-driven impressions and thoughts, because the best news for me is it supports controller on PC. Like literally, like I was like, I'm going to play on console. Everybody's playing on PC. It's got cross-play, cross-save, I believe, all that, yada, yada, yada. I might have a piece of information that isn't correct. Just note that they are delivering the things, the quality of life that I have been really wanting in this game. So I'll be giving you guys those impressions. So don't feel like you got to pre-order. I will let you guys know how I feel coming out of this weekend, having pre-ordered it as well. So the open beta focus, it says during the open beta and early access weekends, players will be able to intimately explore the game. I wish I should have highlighted. They could explore the game in Diablo 4. This includes the first taste of the campaign via the prologue and the entirety of Act 1. The first zone, Fractured Peaks, is yours to navigate as you please, stampede through the rugged landscape, and cut down the demons. For the open beta and early access weekends, your character can only level up to level 25, but you're welcome to continue ripping through demons until the open beta ends. Make your mark on Sanctuary by clearing the hellish hordes from dungeons and completing intriguing quests provided by the locals and amassing powerful loot from fallen foes. Simply put, this is your opportunity to combat the might of the Burning Hells prior to our June 6th release. And with that said, the experience is not finalized, so you may encounter performance issues, outages, and some they come across things that simply just don't work. After the open beta concludes, we'll evaluate all feedback we received and we'll be making changes as needed. We'll be looking forward to your experience, the small taste of what Diablo has to offer. If you have not already pre-purchased, blah, 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 guys, you don't need to pre-order. They're not going to run out of materials. Just look at the budget. Just pay attention to what is being offered and beware of FOMO. That would be my advice. Chris, do you have any thoughts on this first segment? I'm going to let you dive into the second one, but I do have one thought I want to share with people.
I got your progress carries forward. So it's literally just play until, in my mind, it's play. If budget's tight, just play the open. You know, if you don't know for a fact you're going to play the open, make your decision. And then I think it's really just play till you've made your decision. I see some people, they'll go grind so hard on this and they don't have any energy left for when the real game comes out. So like, as soon as you know it's fun, even if that's level 10, I'm always a person that's like, okay, well then I'm done. Like, I only want to see enough movie trailers to know that I want to see the movie. After that, stop ruining things. like, you know, so the first time you get a piece of gear that's super cool, that's really fun. And I would save that for the live version as soon as I have enough information to make my decision.
Yeah. The good news here is that we know with June 6th, like, there is time, there is a window that you can kind of heal and rest if you do decide to overconsume. But I'm with you, like, hands down, my idea is I want to go in and see how all the classes feel on a controller, because generally speaking, when it comes to this isometric ARPG style, sometimes ranged might not necessarily feel as good. Some, you know, like, it's going to ebb and flow from game to game and see how they support the overall, you know, controller. So that's essentially kind of what I'm going in to test. So that way people can, you know, think about how they want to approach the game controller wise, just because that's something I like to do. But here's the thing I want to bring up as a developer. I highlighted it here on the video itself. After the open beta concludes, we'll evaluate all feedback we've received and make changes as needed. So you're starting to think now, April and May, roughly speaking, that's going to be 4 to 5 sprints worth of work. That is not enough time to make sweeping changes. Set expectations to a little bit low on changes. Bug fixes are going to be their priority. maybe a couple of balance changes based off of the telemetry data you can see. Major feedback is important. Don't hold that back, but note that major feedback is going to be a 6 to maybe an 18-month window, right? Same thing applies to Final Fantasy. Same thing applies to any games as a service game. Generally start to think about it in terms of, if you break out a calendar in terms of sprints, you can start to sit here and say, how much time do you think this would ultimately take? And so feedback, usually what a lot of gamers get frustrated on in this section, is that they feel like, hey, I provided feedback and it didn't get in for the release. Like, what gives? Halo was the same way. I was really concerned about Halo's progression system, rightfully so.
Yeah, but now it's been a year and they still haven't.
And now it's still been a year. And so, like, I would say, like, they don't understand the feedback. So even if they're not understanding if they don't understand it, it's even worse. Like, it's going to take a lot longer for them to actually comprehend what feedback they're given. All right. Chris, why don't you take over and let's jump into the open beta details.
Okay, so early access to the open beta will be March 17th at 9 a.m. Blizzard time over there on the West Coast, and it will conclude March 20th at 12 p.m. Blizzard time. The open beta will be the following week, March 24th, the same 9 a.m. to 3 days later, 12 p.m. As open beta and early access weekends get closer, the ability to early download the game will become available. So you'll want to do that in your Blizzard launcher. We'll update this section with that information in the future.
All right. And let's go ahead and move on to the next section.
During the early access weekend, players will have access to the 3 classes. Assume the role of the battle-bred barbarian, nimble rogue, or elementally tuned sorcerer. Once the open beta weekend comes around, the earthen druid and undead wielding necromancer classes can also be played in addition to the original 3. A maximum of 10 characters can be made per battle.net account. After reaching level 25 with one character, we recommend you try repelling demonic hordes with additional classes to find your favorite. While progress will transfer from early access to open beta weekends, all characters made during these weekends will be deleted once the beta ends.
So do not murder yourself to get a head start for June the 6th. All right.
On all consoles that support Diablo 4 via couch co-op, players can enlist a second Demon Slayer to combat ranks of hell screen by screen to play using couch co-op during the early access weekend. Only one player will be required to have the official access to this experience. The second player will need to have their battle.net and console-specific accounts linked. The strength of Burning Hells knows no bounds, but you can even the odds by rallying a party of demon destroyers via online 4-player co-op. To play this way during early access weekend, all players, excluding those via couch co-op, will be required to have official access to this experience. Note that vanquishing demons while near any player will grant you a 5% bonus experience and 10% if you are near a party member of your party. Discover Fractured Peaks. Fractured Peaks is home to craggy steps and snow-laden pathways, creating an unforgiving landscape rife with demons to slay and secrets to discover. This is where your Wanderer's legend is forged. After completing the prologue, the Fractured Plains will be yours to explore as you wish. There's much to experience even in this small slice of Sanctuary, so we wanted to call out a few special activities of interest. Nestled among the mountains is the city of Hjövashad.
Good job.
That was a lot of letters. And a safe zone where you can repair, purchase new gear, upgrade your health potion, access the stash, and much more. Think of the city as your base of operations between excursions into the rigid expanse of the zone. The main quest line of Diablo 4 is rich and consists of multiple acts. Look for the main quest line markers on your map to begin your pursuit of Lilith. Additionally, there are numerous side quests to embark upon throughout Fractured Peaks during your travels. If you find yourself slashing demons near the town of Nevesk, check out the Woodsman of Nevesk side quest and one of the nearby altars of Lilith. created by Lilith's first children. These altars are spread throughout Sanctuary. Finding them provides a permanent boost to core stats to all characters on the Eternal Realm. While trudging through the snow, you may come across World and Legion events. World events are small experiences that arise at random within a zone and may require you to do things such as escorting a lost soul to its loved one or satiate the hunger of bloodthirsty obelisks. World events can usually be completed within a couple of minutes and are completely optional, but they always provide a reward for your heroics. There are many world events for you to discover during the open beta. Try completing them with other players too. In contrast, Legion events are longer experiences meant to challenge you. Ensure you're prepared to overcome hordes of demons before entering them, and if you're able, take them on with the aid of other players. These events will usually be marked on your map, but are sometimes revealed after conquering a stronghold. With risk comes reward. After completing a Legion event, you'll be rewarded handsomely for prevailing. These events are optional and can be completed more than once. Dungeons are a cornerstone of the Diablo universe. Diablo 4 and this open beta has no shortage of them to explore. Dungeons and their recommended level to complete are displayed on your map. These are tight, tense instances where determination and skill will guide you to victory over whatever hell you discover within. Dungeons are a great place to put your skills to the test while also racking up useful gear for even more threatening encounters, such as world bosses. Combat massive world bosses. Daring wanderers seeking a sizable challenge should look no further. Ashava, a whirlwind of pestilence, has recently emerged in Fractal Peaks. Journal entries recounting sightings of this gargantuan plague bearer. It looks like the same one we fought at BlizzCon.
Yeah, it looks very similar, yeah.
Plague bearer make note of her 2 massive forearm blades and the ability to coat the ground in a viscous poison. Her blades, which can cleanly cut through stone and flesh alike, are to be feared. Records appear to mention a way to weaken Ashava, but unfortunately that portion of the page is corroded away. It is thought that one wanderer alone cannot bring this beast to its knees. Come prepared for an intense fight and recruit your friends and other players to pursue the ultimate glory of conquering one of the burning hell's most heinous creatures to date. Should you find a pathway to victory, a sizable loot drop awaits. Here's what you'll have the opportunity to combat Ashava during the open beta and early access weekends. And they have scheduled it at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 10 p.m. and midnight on the 18th and on the 25th PDT to really encourage people to all be there. I'm sure the servers will love it. Very cool.
Yeah. And I want to highlight a comment kind of as a breakout of that information. So guys, be sure to, honestly just keep these comments coming because this is what makes things interesting. Wargiver says, between the disastrous launch of D3 and the history of WoW expansions going in directions that I didn't like, and the FOMO infesting all Blizzard games, I'm opting not to spend $90 Canadian, I assume, plus tax on the standard edit of this game. Chris, do you feel like Diablo 3, do you remember the launch of Diablo 3?
If it weren't for the player auction house, I largely have fond memories. Mm-hmm. It was very frustrating that the only gear people were selling on the board was trash because everybody was selling it for real money, and that the people that were willing to spend real money were coming out ahead. Mm-hmm. So there were elements of that were very frustrating, but on its own, I think it was a decent out-of-the-gate launch if it were not for that one enormous blunder, as best I can remember. But what the game has done since then is a drastic overhaul. Diablo 3 today really doesn't look a whole lot like it did at launch. Beyond just a glance, like it feels different. Yeah. It really matured. Diablo 2, however, I remember fond memories from the get-go for as long as I played, and they have brought it back in its reforged, remastered, re-edited, whatever, and that has proven to be an incredible level of support for a very old game. So Diablo 3 is just still no Diablo 2. So I have a lot of questions about what are they modeling this after, and to what effect will any success that Diablo Immortal is considered to have internally have on this game? If Diablo Immortal has turned out to be a cash cow for the effort, will that have an effect on this game? So I absolutely understand not wanting to buy a standard edition until much less a fancier edition. until you're sure that this game is for you. Now, if you're somebody who just plays action RPGs, you play Path of Exile, you play Wolcen, you play this, like, these are the types of games you play. There does end up being some genres of games, RTSs, like city simulators, like SimCity, and action RPGs, where the genre is still just, you're not getting a launch every month. So you kind of end up in a position where you kind of have to buy all of them, whether you like them or not, just because that's the only rate at which you get variety. But for anybody that's happy with other genres of games, you can wait. So I would wait and see how they handle it, especially if you feel they've had issues in the past. I personally think WoW launches are generally good experiences. I enjoyed BFA and Shadowlands on launch.
Yeah.
So I feel a little bit differently about Blizzard products, and so my actions might differ. But I think it's a valid feeling. Like, I understand how people got to that conclusion and why they would say, based on that, I don't really want to give them money yet, or maybe at all.
Yeah, and with Diablo 3, like for PC, that was the first, like, it required online, and that was a frustration for people who were used to being able to kind of hack the game. And
I just don't even remember it.
Well, because the only reason a lot of people remember it is because they're trying to get in, couldn't log in, and that's generally like whenever there's an online game, and Diablo 4 is going to be online. But like most of the games ultimately are like requiring that internet connection. The console versions didn't, so they didn't run into that same iju. But you brought up Wolcen, also like Last Epoch. I wasn't
even married yet.
Yeah, also
this was a while ago, guys.
This was a while. This is a long time. The Last Epoch, that's another action that just had they're not yet to the full release, but like they're adding in things, and so there is a collection of those. So buyer beware. Like, there's always a good value in waiting and seeing how things are received, because beyond action RPGs, like, we know there's also a lot of other things happening and going on, as you'll get like Final Fantasy 14, the 6.4 patch roughly around this time, if not a little bit sooner. You'll have Blue Protocol, the Throne of Liberty, like a lot of like games and things like that heating up to pick up, and we'll get hyped too. So if you're somebody who's like, oh, this is what everybody's talking about, I want to go play it, like if you wait and save money, who knows, the Activision Blizzard deal could close, and if you have Game Pass, it could be included then. So that's going to be something interesting to see for sure. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the second section. Play the open beta, lead the pack, it says. It wouldn't be a trip to Sanctuary without earning a cache of unique rewards along the way. As you play Diablo 4 during the open beta and early access weekend, showcase your wondrous prowess by collecting all 3 open beta rewards. Players who unlock these rewards will receive them once Diablo 4 launches. The initial casualty title, earned by reaching Kovushad with 1 character. Early Voyager, earned by reaching level 20 on 1 character. Beta Wolfpack cosmetic item, earned by reaching level 20 on 1 character. I guess
that's the dog in the back.
Yeah, but I'm just making that says the same thing, right?
Just napping until go day.
Is that the same requirement? I'm not misreading that. It's like, all right, cool. So a title, and then getting level 20
cosmetic for
there
20.
You go. Perfect. So there is the incentive that they're trying to add to get more people to test. I think that's smart, and the fact that it's animated, I think, is really cool. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Super cute.
Now, yeah, and then for system
that's
specs,
what I think about grungy Diablo. Cute. It lacks cute things.
Cute things. The hope is that because Xbox is committed that with the Activision Blizzard deal, they will bring their games to GeForce Now, which is something I have been wanting. more games on that service. Open beta PC specs, though. Minimum requirements, 64-bit Windows 10, processor i5 or AMD FX 8100, 8 gigs of memory, GTX 660 or an AMD Radeon R9, DirectX 12, and 45 gigs recommended SSD, and obviously broadband connection. For the recommended, you're looking here at an i5 or an R3, 16 gigs of RAM, GTX 970 or higher, or like a Radeon RX 470. And then again, the SSD is still the same. For a note for that, Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus subscription will not be required to play Diablo 4 during the open beta and early access. In Germany, PlayStation Plus subscription will be required due to the ratings requirement. Once Diablo 4 launches, Xbox Live Gold and PlayStation Plus will be required to access some of the game's multiplayer features. So that's all the Diablo news that we have for you guys right now. Chris, do you have any other thoughts before we shift into our second main topic for today's live show?
No, I'm excited to have new games coming out. I think one of the biggest biggest signs of a healthy industry is that we are seeing games regularly release, and it feels like there's times that that's our best indicator of what's coming out, right? If it's a bunch of junk that's coming out, that tells us something. If it's a bunch of good games coming out, that tells us something. But like these are our chance to measure, because the ultimate measure of a gaming studio is what they publish. I know that like there are a lot of valid things around like ethics and around monetization and all these other things that ultimately, if they can't do their very core product well, none of it matters. It does, like nobody is out there supporting bad games just because they're nice people. Like if you can't make a good game, none of it matters.
Yeah,
that's
the be all end all.
What's coming out of the Diablo franchise? I think Diablo Immortal rightfully frustrated a lot of fans of the IP. And in the space, the action RPG space, there aren't that many names. So when one of the big ones mishandles their IP, it's incredibly frustrating.